I often believe that it actually does get even stronger as long as everyone in the situation is willing to do the work to get to that place. In teams, it can be there's more open and honest communication where it leads to more innovation, it leads to more creativity, more strategic thinking, the ability to accomplish the goals in hand, right? In relationships, it can turn the love from an idea into a practice, one built on truth instead of delusion. And I think it's oftentimes rebuilding trust isn't something that we do alone. It's something we do together. And therefore, the act of actually doing it together rebuilds it in a more stronger way. Because a lot of times, I think trust on the front end of a relationship is to some degree inherent in some situations. Maybe it's not real strong at first, but over time, it builds and builds and builds. When it's broken, obviously, it becomes a very difficult process to move forward, but you are able to. But because you're doing it together, you're able to reinforce the relationship in a more intentional way that's going to allow for a stronger overall connection. And so I think that as long as everyone's willing, we're not saying that by any means anyone has to. You can certainly choose to not move forward and sever the relationship if that is what's best for you and best for the situation. But if you've determined that's not the case, there is the possibility of it being an even stronger relationship in the future. You hear about it all the time, especially marriages where there's been infidelity and they stay and they do the work. By no means are we advocating for one way or another, but then they say that their relationship and their trust factor is even stronger on the other side. And it can give you hope if that is something that you want to do, or you can choose to move forward and find a more trusting relationship with someone else. I think the overall sentiment is that while it has been a heavier topic and rebuilding trust can be quite the process, there is some really good, hopeful signs that things can be even better on the other side of it.
And talk about, let's drill in on that. What's the intent? Many years ago, I learned to ask a couple of questions of myself. And that is, if I take a certain action, which in this case might be, I'm going to take some action to repair that trust. Ask a couple of questions. First of all is, what's the best that can happen? And jot down 2 or 3 things, right? Then, what's the worst that can happen if I do that? And very often, there's not a lot that's bad that can happen as a result. But if there is a couple of things, I'm going to take an action. I'm going to have that conversation with Bob. What's the worst that can happen? He punches me on the nose. That's unlikely to happen, but it makes the matter worse, etc. You go down 3 or 4 of those. And then for each of those items, ask the following question. What could I do to prevent that from occurring? What would I do if I observed it in the moment? And what could I do to recover from it?